Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another review from Fanboys Forever. Today we're going to be looking at 5 different Batman What? Hey Jared, my turn. At ease, fanboys and fangirls. I'll be taking over. Ever since Todd McFarlane got the DC Comics license, he's been doing a lot of Batman figures. If I had to guess, I would say that there might be as many as, say, 79 different Batman figures in production right now at Todd McFarlane's top secret Chinese factory. And you know what? I think that's fantastic. Keep the Batman coming, Todd. Anyway, I'll be your host, as today we look at 5, yes, count 'em, 5 beautiful new Batman figures from Todd McFarlane in the DC Multiverse range of products. We'll be looking at the Future State Batman Dark Detective. We'll be looking at Batman from Future State. We'll be looking at Batman. We'll also be looking at Batman, and you guessed it, Batman. I want to remind you to subscribe. Be sure you do so you don't miss out on all the other new videos coming out from Fanboys Forever. And you better like the video. I know where you live. Okay, I don't, but I'm Batman, I'll find out. We're going to be looking at all 5 of these Batman figures and making a determination about which one is the best Batman of them all. In 2022, it's been a Batman-blessed year, and Todd keeps the hits coming. Let's begin. Let's start with something a little original, something that we've not quite seen before in this line. Cold weather gear version of yours truly. You can see I'm in a very fashionable parka there, fur lining, nice insulated batsuit. Utility belt on the outside is a little odd, but hey. You can also see it comes with Build-A-Figure parts, but I don't have the other figures. It says it's from Justice League Endless Winter. On the back, we see a diagram showing you that yes, you can build the Frost King. That great comic book character that everyone knows and loves and happens to look like a Christmas version of Lobo. Included at no additional cost is this lovely, lovely card. Sharp looking outfit. On the back, it isn't very specific at all to the story, so who knows. For anybody who wants to build the Christmas Lobo thing, here's the parts. I don't know. I'm gonna put them somewhere beside the giant T-Rex or the penny. I don't know. Every DC Multiverse figure known to man comes with one of these display bases. Todd, you spoil us. All of them come with it. Alright.
Call an ambulance!
And here he is. Christmas time cold weather Batman. From the story, Endless Winter. You know, this is actually a pretty cool design. When I first saw the figure, I kind of had my misgivings. Matter of fact, I was fairly certain I wouldn't even add it to my collection. But I have to say, I actually think the design translates very well to action figure form.
Call an ambulance!
I'm very impressed by the level of sculpting here. The fur on the jacket particularly looks really good. And then on the coat, you can see almost kind of a woven fabric effect. Look at that. Oh yeah, that's top quality stuff. I also like that I welded some armor onto the outside of the coat. I mean, why wouldn't I? The gauntlets are a nice touch too. Even the back of the coat is adorned with furry goodness. I'm also quite fond of the belt. It was kind of an unusual choice to have it go all the way around the coat, but the sculpting really is there. You can see all the little folds in it as the belt kind of smushes the coat against the waist. The visor is certainly an interesting touch as well. You can actually see right through it. I'm sure that if you worked at it a little bit, you could probably pry this thing right off, but I do believe there's a ridge sculpted into the back of the head where you're not really supposed to. You even see there's a little bit of like a rebreather right there around the mouth. Very ingenuitive, if I do say so myself. The actual bodysuit reminds me quite a bit of the new 52 design, with the armor plating and even the bat logo to an extent. I particularly like here at the boots how they have almost a bat logo for the knee pads, and there's some really cool gray armor. Again, with a really nice sculpting on the pants, giving you almost a canvas look. Very nice. Articulation doesn't take too much of a hit. It's everything that you usually get with one of these McFarlane figures, but I think the coat does keep the legs down just a little. And of course, you're not going to get as wide a splits. Although I was surprised he could even do that much. He does come with a special type of batarang. It has like a red center. I imagine this is the same device I used in Batman and Robin, the 1997 feature hit film, one of the greatest movies of all time. I don't know what it is. I haven't read it. You know, the design may not be quite as iconic as the others, but this is a very well executed Batman figure. And I think one that anyone would be very proud to add to their collection. Wait till Vigilante finds out I stole his visor. Still with me? Good. Next up, we'll be switching to something a little more traditional. Let's go with the Three Jokers version of me. Let's do it. This may be the closest that Todd has come to a completely traditional classic Batman, if you don't count the Year 2 Batman. By the way, I don't. Every single one of them had an arm that cracked off, including mine. As a matter of fact, I ordered 2. They both flew off as soon as I got them. Okay, true story though. Anyway, the only thing missing, I guess, are the trunks. You know how much I like to wear my underwear on the outside. The side, you can see it's from the 3 Jokers, because apparently there's 3 of them now. I don't know. As far as I know, there's only 1 Joker, and I left his corpse rotting in the tunnel of love. Oh, sorry, back on task. Have some cool photography of the figure on the back. Let's open him up. Here's our card, which actually does include information about the storyline at hand, which I do appreciate. Look, I don't mean to oversell it, but this Batman is tight. It's a good Batman. Seriously, this guy's got it all. The proportions are absolutely fantastic. A great match for the comic book artwork. I like that this Batman is actually barrel-chested, and you know how much I appreciate those kinds of proportions. One of the best touches by far is that he actually has the yellow bat logo, something that I wear every then and again for nostalgic reasons. Anyway though, it looks really good. Makes me wonder if Todd will ever do a Batman Incorporated version. Either way, this guy looks awesome. One of my favorite little details is a little bit of spray on the face. It makes the flesh tone look a lot more natural, and I'm very pleased with it. Speaking of the head sculpt, the actual texture of the leather of the cowl is pretty amazing. It's really great that for a $20 figure, you get all of this incredible detail. There's even a little bit of a gloss hit on the lips. Not that I wear lip gloss. It's chapstick. Burt's Bees.
Call an ambulance!
The belt's nice, but I think it could have used a wash or something. It's a little plain. I do think most fans probably would have wanted Batman in the black trunks. I know I do. But you can't have everything, and it wouldn't have been true to the comic book art. It comes with this cool grapnel launcher, too. I might be adding that one to my arsenal. From the back, everything's just as awesome as the front. Look at that cape sculpt. Lovers of soft goods, eat your heart out. I'm not going to really hit on the articulation because all of them pretty much have the same stuff we're all used to. But I will say this guy is very mobile. He's particularly uninhibited compared to our trench coat wearing friend back there in the cold weather gear. The one thing that I'll say to be aware of with all of these guys is all of the neck pegs appear to be fairly stuck. It's something that I'll probably have to go in and give them all a dunk in the Lazarus pit. I mean a cup of hot water to free them up maybe afterwards. But it's definitely something to be aware of. If you're looking for a traditional Batman figure, you can't do too much better than this guy. He's really got it where it counts. He's just modern enough and just classic enough to fit in pretty much any display. And I think you'll be very pleased, especially for $20 or even less. He goes on sale all the time on Amazon. Let's go for something completely different. This time, we're going to be looking at one of the Future State variants. Here he is, the Batman of the future, Terry McGinnis. Wait, it's not Terry McGinnis. Okay. Alright. Anyway, though, this is the Batman of the future. Who knows? On the back, we actually have some awesome figure photography. I have to say, this one's really nice. Like all the other figures from Future State, like Superboy Prime and Lobo and animated series Superman and Black and Silver and... oh, they're not from Future State. Let's open them up. Let me just tell you, this card art is sick. In Future State, Batman is Tim Fox, which is my buddy Lucius's son. He comes to Gotham after I disappear, and he takes over the mantle, so cool. I really like the design work on this guy. In particular, he sort of embodies a couple of different future Batman traits. He kind of looks like the first design for Batman Beyond, which featured a closed mouth, but he also sort of reminds me of Legends of the Dark Knight future Batman. The one in the dark green that had the closed mouth plate. I mean, it's sort of like it. I'm really liking the futuristic bat logo too. They've done my logo in so many different ways through the years that I'm surprised they could even come up with a new way at this point. I also like how the armor makes kind of a V shape at the end of the abs. Pretty cool touch. Gold batarang? Well, it's not exactly stealth, but sure, cool. I'm also glad that unlike the previous Batman we looked at with 3 Jokers, this belt actually has some detail. You can actually see all the little paint hits of the gold on the yellow plastic. It makes all the difference. Sure, on the back, things are boring as all get out, but who cares? You never see it. Black shoulder pads. Not a bad touch. I really like how the gray looks like pieces of Kevlar armor that's welded onto a more flexible bodysuit. It almost makes you think this could be a live-action Batman costume. And even though for this little presentation we're not talking too much about articulation, that he's just as posable as the Three Jokers version we just looked at. So not only was the rest of the joints very mobile, but it's also worth noting that I could actually turn the head without heating the poor fool up. I mean, that's got to be worth something, right? He even comes with 2 alternate hands, fists, so I can bring down the twin hammers of justice. You know, the Tim Fox Batman may not have the most iconic design, but it's a really nice figure, and I'm glad he's part of the collection. Best of all, he's only $20. Now, I'm a billionaire. I sneeze $20, but I mean, come on. This is fantastic. Alright, just a couple more to go. This time we're going to be looking at the other future state figure, Batman Dark Detective. Here he is in the box, and look at that. Whoever's doing the photography at McFarlane is really going the extra mile lately. This stuff's excellent. It's artwork. Be sure to collect all the other great future state figures like Antler Swamp Thing and White Knight Batman and okay, alright, they still don't have the cross-sell quite right. Hey, Broseph, look at this card artwork. You know how sure you want comic book artwork instead of this? I mean, come on, look at it. Bruh. The card actually has some really cool information about the story, and it really does make me interested to read it. Wow. I have to say, this guy was a lot better than I thought he would be. And honestly, I'd really been anticipating the figure, so I'm surprised. Not only is the design just awesome, but even the articulation is superb for what it is. I actually thought he would be quite inhibited. He wasn't at all. Checking out the sculpting first, you can see all sorts of great detail. This is probably some of the best teeth I've seen McFarlane as a company ever do. I mean, they pay good money for that smile, but I mean, this is ridiculous. It's fantastic. I also like his more Captain America-esque mask. It's something different. Maybe one of the first times we've ever seen my ears in one of these costumes. Maybe I should get some piercings. His neck is bare as well, and on the back that carries through. Look at this awesome trench coat. I've always thought that the artists were inspired by the Nightmare appearance in BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I'm really liking that extra dry brushing they've done to the coat. I also really appreciate the cool shoulder pads on the trench coat, the theme for the 2 trench coat Batmans we've looked at today. On the chest, you can see that I've hastily spray painted a bat logo on there, but I think I could have done a little better myself. I mean, maybe I was drunk. This is really nice. I'm really liking all the brown and the gold kind of mixed together. Raising up the coat, it's not too exciting, but they still have some cool details. I also like that there's a robe. On down to the legs, you can see all sorts of cool padding and things and bolts. And moving on down the pants, you can see the big armored boots, which kind of do look like bat symbols at the top, so good touch. The gauntlets are much more interesting than I thought they would be, especially how there's almost kind of a bluish purple gloves. It's a really great little touch. This is the one accessory. It's this big grappling hook, and it almost has a big claw at the bottom. You can't really unfurl it though, it kind of just stays like that, so you're very limited with what you can do with it. That's the one disappointing element. As I said earlier, he's actually quite articulated, only the arms are slightly inhibited at the shoulders by the big shoulder pads on the coat, but everything else works really well, and they even managed to get a double joint in the elbows. I was actually surprised to see that the abdomen joint works much better than the other Batman that we looked at. Typically those don't really move much backwards or forwards, but this one, you can actually do it. This is it back all the way, and here it is crunched forward all the way, so it's actually pretty effective. Kind of me shocked that this thing ended up being a little better articulated, at least in one area. I suppose the ankles are a little blocked by some of the armor, but it's not too bad, and you can still get those deep poses. Overall, I have to say, this guy's gritty as all get out. You know how much I appreciate the super grit. I love it. Now we'll be taking a look at the DC Rebirth Batman. Yeah, it's the one with the purple in the cape. Don't you dare knock it. I make it look good. See on the side there, it's from DC Rebirth. On the back, we have another one of those bomb photos. Nice. Hey, Martha and Tommy, it's your boy. This is slick as all get out. Not only does the figure have a much more streamlined and kind of smooth appearance than the previous McFarlanes we've looked at, it's a lot more acrobatic and nimble looking. All the subtle detail and line work, the sculpt really brings it out. It looks great from just about any angle you put it at, and really brings out Batman's new suit from the Rebirth era. Particularly, I love the shade of purple that they used. The chest emblem is fantastic. I especially like that it's a 3D piece. It's sculpted on the belt, even though the paint could have been a little more even. I do like that they actually put the black paint hits in. Even goes all the way around to the back. And the bat butt. And don't overlook the bat butt. I work out all the time. Kudos if you get the reference. The gauntlets are actually pretty cool. I didn't expect them to be so involved. Moving on down to the bottom, I really do like the knee pads. The boots are also pretty interesting aesthetically. It amazes me how little that McFarlane ever really does much reuse. Sure, they release other versions of the same figure, but a lot of the times new versions are just that. 100% new tools and sculpts. I was also pleasantly surprised to see Batman coming with an 89 style grappling gun. This thing really is a dead ringer for that. It may not be exactly the same, but the basic design is there. Even though the prong isn't removable, it's a great accessory. He also includes this batarang that has edges sharp enough to kill a man. I've never understood the batarangs that don't have an aerodynamic design. This thing isn't going to be thrown very far. But honestly, the thing that really makes this guy stand out, it's the crazy articulation. He's way more posable than the others that we looked at. The diaphragm joint alone can replicate Batman touching the hand of God as if he were Adam. You can do just about anything with it, and it's amazing how much better it is than what they've done before. Even the neck post is 10 times more flexible than anything they've ever done, and it wasn't stuck at all. This figure does represent quite an upgrade in the articulation department. This is definitely going to be the one that you have the most fun posing around of all of them. It does represent a true evolution in the way these figures feel and the way that they pose in the McFarlane line. Well, not all about to it. Wait, what? Gee, where am I? Well, Batman, what are you? Gotta go. Wait. Batman, calm down. Batman. Great, he's awake. All right, guys. So, Batman here tried to take the list over, but it's okay. I see he's already shown you the figures. Great. I'll go ahead and do one more. It's the Dark Knight Returns Batman figure from McFarlane. Now, all of these back here, aside from the cold weather trench coat version over there, were all basic Batman figures. In other words, they were $20, but the one in the trench coat and, of course, Dark Knight Returns. Get off! Stop. These guys were $25 because they include Build-A-Figure parts, and this guy includes a buildable horse from Dark Knight Returns, so it was really cool. Let's go ahead and look at the sculpt. Dark Knight Returns Batman has an absolutely awesome sculpt. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you can see that just the absolute facial detail is amazing. Every individual tooth, all the different folds in the cowl, the mouth. It's just leagues better than what they've done with previous Dark Knight Returns figures, particularly with Mattel. They really went out of their way to do something special here. They've got everything, I mean, just to a T. Maybe I would have had the ears be just a tiny bit longer, but I still think they're about right. I also like the added detail on the Bat logo itself, reminding me a little bit of the BVS version of the same costume, and rest assured, it is a version of this costume. Going on down, you can actually see he has the trunks, making him the only Batman from this list to actually be wearing the classic trunks, so that's instantly a go-getter for me. You can also see that they've got the musculature just correct, and what's great is that the sculpting really does remind me a little bit of that old DC Direct version, and I've always liked that. Down here you can see that the thighs, Batman's got big old thighs in Dark Knight Returns. Down here at the boots, they have all of the detail you could ask for, and of course the utility belt continues just like that all the way around. It's important to note that in Dark Knight Returns, Batman doesn't have a giant buckle on the front. It's all pouches, all practical, all storage. I also think that the butterfly joints here are really nice. You can see how well those work, working almost as effectively as, say, like an import figure. It doesn't come together in the front like an import figure would sometimes, but going back, it really does help. And that extra piece does a great job of hiding any kind of gappage there. And especially when you're getting it out like this, it does make it look really natural. The diaphragm joint doesn't do much. You can turn with it, but you can do the same turn down here. So I almost wish it wasn't even here in a way, because there's not really much you can do with it up there anyway. He's not as flexible as, say, the Rebirth Batman back here, who's kind of a new level of posability for McFarlane. Overall, you can get some really nice poses. You can go extra deep if you wish. Something like that, which does look a whole lot like the original Dark Knight Returns figure from DC Direct all those years ago. Or you can get something with a lot more of a traditional kind of superheroic stance. Much like a lot of the other Batmen in this presentation, the neck was pretty well frozen, so I did have to boil it before it would actually come out and kind of work the right way. I have no idea what's going on with McFarlane production where that's a thing lately. But the important thing to note is that with the Build-A-Figure and everything, this guy was $25. And that is incredible when you compare that to, say, the Moth-X version of this guy, who, yes, does have a cloth cape and some better articulation and things, but that figure is $80, $90 if you're lucky. It's pretty incredible that you can get that kind of value right here in the United States for a figure like this. I'm very impressed by what I got, and honestly, I like the sculpting a little bit better on this guy. It's a little more gritty. It's a little more like what I like from Dark Knight Returns Batman, and I am heartily impressed, as you should be. All right, here comes the hard part. I have to rank these guys, and that's really tough to do. This kind of represents most of the 2022 releases. Well, as Batman addressed earlier in the video, McFarlane does a lot of Batman figures, but if you're like me, that's not a problem. There's no character I would rather buy in action figure form. And trust me, years and years of Batman toy sales will back that up every single time. So if you want to see a healthy, long life for a DC line of figures, you better be putting a lot of Batman in there, and frequently. And that's just the truth. That is one of those facts of the toy world, and it's just the way it's gotta be. So there's really no use in complaining about it. All right, who's gonna take the bottom spot? Man, this is tough. But I suppose that even though the figure is really cool, at number 6, it's Cold Weather Batman. I mean, he's really cool as, yeah, I know. It's just not a very traditional Batman design, and I think that hurts it a little. No matter how well executed it is, in my head, I don't see Batman wearing the vigilante goggles and with a giant, red spear in the Batarang, even though, like I said, terrific design, nothing against the figure itself. It's just so limited with what you can do with it. And then that combined with it being the most limited in articulation, even though it can do a little bit more than I thought it would be able to. This trench coat is still fairly flexible. Yeah, it's definitely the bottom of the list for me. All right, and at number 5, yes, I hate to, but it is Future State Batman. I was actually surprised by how much I liked him. It is a really nice design. I really do think that it is a great interpretation of Batman of the future. And maybe it's one of those deals where if I read more of the story or actually got into the Future State comics, I would be a lot more hyped about it, and that would affect my opinion about the figure. But as it stands, honestly, it's very similar to standard Batman for my taste. And you know what? That's fine, because that's okay. They were wanting to do something a little more traditional for a future version of Batman. But I think it does rob him of a little bit of uniqueness. So for as cool as he is, maybe he needed more of his own identity as a figure, because as it stands, you would almost just think this is a Batman variant. It's a very effective figure. It doesn't have any kind of mechanical issues necessarily, aside from the head being a little frozen up, but most McFarlane figures these days. Yeah, he's definitely at number 5, and still a nice figure though, still one I would suggest. At number 4, we do have the Three Jokers Batman. This is a very nice traditional Batman figure. I was actually very impressed with how much I liked this guy. He is just great, especially with the airbrushing right there around the face. Gives him that subtle look. I really love seeing the yellow bat logo. Like the accessory quite a bit with a more traditional grapnel launcher. Everything really comes out very nicely. He's pretty vanilla for my tastes, and that means that there's a whole lot of gray plastic on the suit, like a lot. To the point to where you would almost wish that they had went with some kind of wash or something to break that up a little bit. As it stands, it's just this big gray bodysuit. And I definitely think that even if it wouldn't have been true to the comic, making this black here on this trunks portion would have made all of the difference in terms of breaking up some of that. But I definitely think McFarlane should look into reissuing this with it like that. They should also maybe look into doing a blue and gray version of this guy. Maybe even redoing the head to make it more classical. I think this body has a lot of potential. It's very beefy, so you could even use it for, kind of an old school Batman body. But honestly, McFarlane doesn't do a lot of reuse. They're very good about just doing brand new tools. It's a great figure, and it definitely hurt to put him that low on the list. But he's just not quite as unique, maybe, as some of the others that we looked at. All right, top 3 time. Here we go. We got Future State Dark Detective. Now, this version of Batman, I am heartily impressed by. Not just because the design is so cool and the colors work together so well, but because of that really nice diaphragm articulation. I really like that. Everything was really free and moved very well. Not only that, but the design itself is just fantastic. The trench coat being kind of windswept in the back kind of keeps it out of the way of the rest of it and makes him ideal for doing kind of action-packed poses. He's just great looking. Everything from the detail on his face to even the individual teeth. This accessory is a little bit of a letdown because you can't do much with it. And he's a very specific version of Batman to the point to where I don't know if it would be everybody's thing or not. You know what I mean? Like maybe some people would look at this and be like, that's a little weird. But for me, yeah, this is dynamite. I'm really liking this guy. I think he turned out great. And he turned out, even though I was already hyped about him because I really like this design. Don't know much about the comic, but I love the design. McFarlane, bring on that Nightmare Batman from BVS and Justice League, right? Love to see that. All right, time to reveal the runner-up, second place. Here we go. And some of my bias is going to show here, so... All right, it's Rebirth Batman is my number 2. This is fantastic. This figure represents so many advancements in the way the articulation feels and just how it operates for a McFarlane figure. It really does just seem so flexible. And look at that. You would never be able to get that kind of movement out of any of the other DC Multiverse figures that I've handled so far. And I've not handled them all, but I mean, it's amazing just how much more posability and even in things like the head that you can get out of this guy. It really does feel like a statement on the future of these figures and their durability and also their posability. So this is just a highly suggested figure. For me, it's a little slender, maybe, but it's definitely a more acrobatic Batman, and that's the cool thing about the character is he can be portrayed either way as this kind of big bruiser or more of an acrobat. This is definitely the latter here, and I think it works really, really, really well. Even the knee pads hide some of that articulation and make it a little more natural. So this is a fantastic figure. He comes with a grapnel gun and a batarang, which is more than I can say for some of these other guys. So it's great.
Yes, Robin, get my meds. It's happening.
And here he is, Dark Knight Returns Batman, my number 1 pick. I mean, just look at this. The sculpting is on par with a statue. As a matter of fact, I've seen statue representations of this character that did not look as good as this. It's practically perfect. This is a flawless representation of Dark Knight Returns Batman. And here on the channel, we've done a few different reviews of several other Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. But this is by far the most accurate plastic representation that you can possibly get of the grittiest moments of Dark Knight Returns Batman, especially from, say, like issue 3. Look at any of that artwork in the Tunnel of Love sequence where he fights the Joker. This is just a perfect match for it. So I have to say, this one all day long, 100% number 1, especially when paired with the giant horse. I mean, look at this. You build a giant horse. How great is this? And it's accurate to the comic. It's beautiful. Batman can sit on it. This whole wave is just dynamite. And yes, I'm even talking to the Superman head sculptators, because if you look at some panels of Dark Knight Returns, Superman just looks like that, all right? He's not drawn real pretty in a lot of parts of the book. So it's just accurate. And let me tell you, speaking of accurate, this guy, top notch. Love it, love it, love it. This is one of the most iconic Batman figures in my whole collection. All right, friends, I sure do hope you've enjoyed this look at me and Batman's top picks for the top McFarlane Batman figures of 2022 so far. This represents the first half of the year, and yes, there's a couple of releases that we left out. This was by no means comprehensive, and it was just meant to be kind of a fun look at some of the most recent Batman figures. I sure do hope that you've enjoyed this look, and I would love to hear your own personal opinion down below. Please let me know if you think that me and Batman had some great points, or if you think that we were way, way off base. I would love to hear it all, no matter what. And as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It really does help the channel grow, and you don't want to miss out on all the other cool Batman reviews that we have coming out. And of course, be sure to like the video. It lets YouTube know to share the video out to others that may be interested, and it really helps us grow. So as always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Batman out.
Call an ambulance!
Robin, I thought I told you to get me the pills and the TV dinners. This figure really does represent quite an upgrade in terms of our... Let me just tell you, this card art is sick, bruh. Hey, Martha and Tommy, it's your boy.